second chance in the game.
I'm Mike Popovich. I'm the head football coach at Collinsville High School. I just started this year. This coming August 2018 will be my first season here. Talking to you guys today a little bit about turning around a struggling program. I've been in some difficult situations. I've been a part of really good programs. I've been a part of really bad programs and learned a lot from guys that I've been under as an assistant coach, as well as taking the reins as a head coach too. But in particular, I want to talk about what I've done in the past to help get a program on track, surrounding myself with quality individuals and just utilizing other people's talent. Looking back at my past at a couple different places, my first head coaching job was at Bunker Hill High School in 2007. When we got there, they had just started the program up in 1999. So from 1999 through the 2006 season, they had won 2 games total. It was a rough situation. I remember specifically walking into that program and walking through, doing some inventory with a player and asking him where his practice pants were, and they actually didn't have any. So you'd be amazed at what you're able to change, thinking outside the box. Some things that you might not even consider that program might not be doing already. But they were 2-58 all time. Program numbers were lower than 30. I mean, if anybody knows anything about Bunker Hill High School, it's a school that is smaller than 200 kids total in the building. It's one hallway. It's a huge basketball community. So when we walked in there, first of all, there was a reason why I got the job. I was 25, and typically to get a head coaching job, you have to have head coaching experience. Fortunately for me, there was only, I believe, one other guy who applied for the job, and it worked out in my favor. I knew they had some athletes there, but I knew there was going to be some things that we had to do to get those kids out. And we had to get people excited. We had to get a community that was used to watching, basketball. I mean, that's what they were big on. What we did right off the bat was, obviously, I brought in people that I trusted. And I can't stress that enough throughout this presentation, throughout this talk, where you need to surround yourself with people that you trust. If you don't trust them, it's kind of hard to relinquish control in certain areas. So I was fortunate enough to work with some, not just my dad, but also my cousin, and found some other guys that were from successful programs. So at Jacksonville High School, we pulled a former player from that program. So that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to surround ourselves with people on the same mission, and I know a lot of people have heard that beforehand, but kid-wise, we needed to get them organized. We needed to point them in the right direction. It was very unorganized prior to us getting there. They had, film was not consistent. They had, equipment-wise, we talked about that. Football-wise, weight room, they didn't really have a weight room program. I mean, now, obviously, you're talking back in 2007, quite a bit of stuff has changed, but, we were able to get the kids excited. That's one thing that I'm huge on, positive energy. If you're looking to make a change, if you're looking to take that next step, whatever it might be, maybe you're a very, very bad program, you're walking in as a first-year head coach, positive energy, I cannot stress enough how important it is. And that's one thing that we were able to do, maybe a little bit too much. I mean, we were very, very fiery guys and a little bit too passionate at the age of 25, had zero business being a head coach, but whatever we were going to do, we were going to do it with our hair on fire. Then I remember coming out that summer, getting them organized, putting in something into place that they could feel confident with, defensively, offensively, special teams wise, and us walking into that first year and going up to Brown County High School and beating them to open up the season. And we ended up going 6-4 that first year. It was the school's first ever winning season and first ever playoff appearance. And in the short 2 years that we were there, we kind of took that program and pointed them in the right direction. Here recently, they just started co-oping with another school, and they're having some success again. But looking back at my time then, we were just so energetic. And now if I could go back, there'd be a lot of different things. And I think that's one thing that I can stress as well. You always find something at a previous stop that you've done that you look at and say, I wish I could do that again. I wish I could do that over. When I left Bunker Hill, I didn't know where I wanted to go. I had these dreams and aspirations to be a college coach. So I went through some different things. I had coordinator roles. I was able to be down in Tennessee for a year, and then I spent 3 years out at Army coaching their sprint football team, which is just lightweight football. It's college football with a weight limit of 172 pounds or less, and we had some success out there. And finally, I had another chance to come back to Illinois, which is where I'm from, and I took over Mount Zion's program. Mount Zion's a tradition-rich program, especially at the 4A level. They've had a lot of success, and there's been a lot of great Hall of Fame coaches that have been there. When we got there, the program was struggling. I believe they had, come off a 3-6 year, 54 total kids in the program, really program in the low 50s, the numbers were. And it was something where you knew they had 700 kids in the high school, 700 plus, and at Bunker Hill, we had to increase their numbers prior, so we knew with some positive energy and with some change, we were going to get some more kids out, and we did. Over a 3-year span, we went from 54 kids in the program to 72 to 88 to 93. And so we were making major strides, and I honestly believe it was because we thought outside the box. We weren't stuck in our ways. We did things a little bit different, guys. We went ahead and we thought about it from a kid's standpoint. Well, what do kids want? Well, first of all, they want to have fun. You could say what you want to about this game. You could say, well, it's not meant to be fun. Yes, it is. It's a game. It's a game. And yes, you can teach them a lot of life lessons about discipline, about accountability, commitment, and everything else. But if you're not having fun as a player, you're not going to be out there. You're not going to find too many of those student athletes that are willing to do that. It's the same thing for coaches. Coaches want to be a part of a program that's fun. All right, so that's one thing. Obviously, they want to win. I mean, that's a given. They're competitive. They want swag. Okay, and I get the tradition idea, and I'm an Oregon guy as far as the uniforms and the different things goes. Change it up, whether it be sock colors, simple things like that, helmets, decals, whatever. It doesn't matter. And the last thing, kids want time. They want their own time. So if you're going to be out there for 3+ hours, which we're not even allowed to do anymore, but if you're going to sit there and push and you're going to run them through the ringer and hold them in film sessions that are 3 hours long and all this other, you're going to lose kids. You've got to go ahead and you've got to give them time. So we kind of approach some things differently with that as well. So over that 3-year period, we had taken that program that was 3-6 the year prior, where kids were transferring out. And all of a sudden, we went ahead and we had our last 2 years there in 2014 and 2015. We made the playoffs in 4A, ran into Rochester, obviously. I know a lot of teams have done that, and then got beat by a Taylorville program that did a nice job as well. But there were a lot of great things that we had done there too. So I've got a background of kind of turning around some programs. We've had some success. And I've been in a lot of different places, and now as I get ready to take on this next adventure at Collinsville, it's something where, I'm planning on being here for as long as they'll have me. One thing I'll say moving forward, and I talked about this briefly just a second ago, where I said, if you are, whether you're a bad program looking to take that next step, or maybe you're a good program, maybe you're a solid program, maybe you're constantly 6-4, 7-3, 5-5, you're on the cusp of taking that next step and you want to get there, how are you going to do it? All right, well, you look up at the pictures I've got right now, and I always talk about never sacrifice what you really want for what you want right now. And what do I mean by that? Well, you've got the hamburger that just looks terrible on the left. It's awful. Maybe if you're really hungry, you're going to take a bite of that, and that's fine. But I'm looking over at the other burger. I'm looking at the egg. I'm looking at the lettuce, the tomato, the bacon, everything else I'm going to put on that bad boy, the cheese, everything. Now, it's going to take a lot more time. I understand that. But is it going to be worth it at the end? And it is. And there's no question about it. So never sacrifice what you really want for what you want right now. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, let's say that you walk into a program, you're a first-year head coach, and you're trying to get athletes out in the building, which is what we're trying to do here at Collinsville High School. It's a great basketball school. So they've got sophomores galore, 6'5" kids roaming the halls, and we're trying to get these kids out. We are. But at what risk? Are we going to allow them to go ahead and just come and go as they please? Or how committed are they going to be? What matters? Are you going to go ahead and bend the rules to get another athlete out? Are you going to go against what you believe in? And we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that here because it's going to end up biting us in the butt. We want to make sure that in the long run, when we get to that part where we're accomplishing what it is that we want to accomplish, that we did it the right way, that we're not cutting corners, that we're not going ahead and doing things the wrong way. We don't want that. We don't want any quick fixes here. We want to do everything. It's a process with us. That's the most important thing. So I really think that you need to look at that as well, especially with kids in the building that aren't committed. Now, I will say this too, because there's coaches out there that don't believe in second chances. And I heard Nick Saban not that long ago talk about, kids, when you bail on them or you turn your back on them, they've made bad choices, they made a PLD, poor life decision, and you turn your back on them, what's going to happen to them? There's a good chance that they're going to end up, in a bad situation. So do whatever you can for those kids. Try and bring them along. Don't sacrifice the entire culture, though, for one kid. But be there for those kids. My next obstacle is Collinsville High School. And I jokingly said this because Bunker Hill, when we got there, it might have been considered the armpit of Illinois high school football. I mean, it was bad. It really was. And so when we were walking into Collinsville, it's a program that has struggled mightily. Over the last 40 years, there are 4 seasons of 500 ball or better. This is a concern. Well, why? Well, kind of what's going on. You got program low numbers of 60. All right, well, I just kind of told you where we were at with 700 kids in the high school, where you're in the low 90s. Well, there's 1,900 kids walking through the hallways here. We've got to be higher than 60. So when I talk with people and they ask me where your numbers at, they're not where we want them to be. I mean, the more numbers, the better. It's going to put us in a position to be more competitive, create more competition in practice, create more accountability. Maybe you get another kid, maybe you get a kid that wasn't planning on playing and now he's out, he's excited, and he's got 3 buddies who are athletes. There are kids in this high school, we know they are. They've had success in other sports. They have success in basketball. All of a sudden, track now we're starting to establish ourselves. Baseball, we had a great year this year. Soccer's always been it's been a positive here. There are athletes in this building. We've got to find a way to get them. That's what we want to go ahead and we want to do. Currently, we're playing in the Southwest Conference. So when you're playing against schools like Eastside, they're making documentaries about this, about this school. You're looking at the Belleville West, Belleville East, O'Fallon, Edwardsville, Alton, Granite. You've got a ton of talent, SEC talent. You've got, kids from schools that are getting offered by Notre Dame. There's a ton of talent. Now, you can't tell me that in this building that we don't have it. You've got to go out and you've got to be willing to find it. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do. We're not going to be sitting here saying, well, I don't want that kid if they don't want to be a part of it. No. You've got to go out and you've got to recruit kids in your hallways. You've got to make sure that you're talking with everybody. Hey, have you thought about playing? Talk to them in the weight room. Get them in there. Talk to them about, building them up for another at whatever sport they're playing, whether it be basketball, track, whatever. It doesn't matter. Help them out. Get in good with the other programs as well, and we're going to talk about that. The other thing that we're kind of facing right now at Collinsville is it's an embarrassment to be a K-Hawk football player. And that's tough. So one of the big draws to this program was the fact that I had such a positive experience in high school with my head football coach, Scott Tonser, who's now the AD at Jerseyville, where we were a part of something special. It was a family. And it wasn't just because of the playoffs, but it was because of everything that you did with each other. We went out to eat together on Thursday nights. We did things that you might consider that, or you might not even think about. And they were important to me. It shaped who I am as a person. And right now, walking through these hallways, it's an embarrassment. So my goal is to make sure, especially with these seniors, and if you are a first-year coach heading into a program, don't cast them aside because they've stuck it out, whether it be for 4 years, 3 years, or maybe they had a bad experience and now they're coming back as a senior. They're giving you the time. You need to give them the time. You need to give them everything. And we understand it's going to be a process in this incoming freshman class, and the kids are going to be sophomores, are going to be huge for us. But you can't cast those seniors aside. You just can't do it. So we've got to find a way to make it a positive experience for them, whatever we need to do, so that they're walking through these hallways and they're proud to wear a K-Hawk football shirt. One of the first things that we did, and now I'm going to kind of get into the meat and potatoes of how to, which is what I'm big with. When I got this job, the first thing I did is I found assistant coaches, the athletic director, the assistant athletic director, parents, former players, so alumni from this program, and I texted them separately. I sent them emails, and I said, guys, I need you to identify 3 to 5 strengths of this program and 3 to 5 weaknesses. I need to know. And I needed them to do it individually because I didn't want to get in one big room, because all of a sudden I got this assistant coach saying, well, this is wrong, and then all of a sudden this guy's like, well, yeah, that is wrong. And then, he's jumping on that wagon, and maybe, you get that kind of mob action where everybody's just piling on and you stop focusing on what a positive is, or you're afraid to speak out, and that's not what we want. So we went ahead and we polled people. We asked them, we said, what's wrong with this program? What are the strengths? What can you tell me that we're good at? What's a positive? And then tell me also, what are we not good at? What do we need to work on? And as a first-year head coach, you have to rely on that. Now, with that being said, you can't form opinions about players. So if a player walks in, and this kid, and we ran into this at Mount Zion, oh, that kid's soft. Well, that kid that's soft in your eyes, because he's fallen out of favor with you, ends up starting for us for 3 years, and the kid's pretty tough. You got to find different ways to motivate kids, and don't form an opinion based on what somebody else tells you. Form your own opinion. So if you're that first-year head coach, yes, you're looking at what's being presented to you, but you're also looking at it with an open mind. I knew coming into this program that it was going to be a struggle. It's not like I walked in and been like, oh my gosh, this is bad. No. There are some positives to this. Now, if you're a head coach and you've been in the program for more than a year, you can sit down in a room with a group. The one thing I'm going to tell you, though, is you've got to be prepared to hear things that might be hurtful. And they're not saying it, so when I get them out with my assistant coaches after our first year, we'll have our one-year strategic plan meeting, our one-page strategic plan meeting, our yearly meeting, and we'll get in a room with assistant coaches. We'll get in there with our athletic director. We'll find whether it be a parent that we trust, whether it be a school board meeting or school board member. You get in there, and I want to hear what they have to say, because that's I want to hear the constructive criticism, because if there's something that they can tell me that I'm not seeing, and I can learn from it, our program can learn from it, and we can grow as a program, I want to hear it. I'm not closed off. I'm not perfect. The day that I go ahead and I decide that I don't need to learn anything else about developing our program is the day that I need to get out. End of story. If you're that guy, you got to you have to be able to self-evaluate, and you got to listen to people. And so that's one thing that we want to do. And like I said, be prepared to hear things that are going to make you uncomfortable, especially in your meeting. I'm planning on it in December. I'm planning on having coaches come in, and we'll do that. With us, some of the things that our coaches listed, they listed program strengths. They said, number one, student athletes in the community are hungry. They're hungry for success. Well, that's a positive, because you're telling me that we're going to have a group that wants to come in and put in the work, which is awesome. They said the facilities, and our facilities are. They're nice facilities. We've got a turf field. We're going to have to do something with that, probably resurface it soon. We've got another great practice facility, a weight room. We've got a gym. We've got everything that we need from a facility standpoint. That's a positive. Now, these things that I'm getting, you can't just take everything, because you'll have 30 different things thrown at you, especially when things aren't going well. You will have people trying to be overly positive, trying to stretch to find things. And we try and limit it to 4 to 5 to 6 different things that we have that other people voted on. So maybe I have 3 assistant coaches that said, hey, facilities are really a strength of ours, all right? And almost everybody said, hey, this community is really hungry. Okay, well, there's athletes and talent in the building. I'm glad that people are saying that, because that tells me that they're realizing that we're not getting kids out. When they say there's talent in the building, there is. When you have 1,900 kids, and you guys can say maybe you're in a program with a school where there's only 300 kids, there's still talent in that building, especially if you've got other sports. You've just got to be willing to go out and get a kid and develop them. And the last thing is, they said as a strength was leaving the Southwest Conference, getting out of the conference with Edwardsville, East St. Louis, Belleville, the Belleville schools, O'Fallon, everybody else. And I look at that and I said, I'm going to put that down. That's fine. If you're looking at that as a strength when we need to get out, I'm actually going to talk about this, because right now it's not just from a physical standpoint that we're in a situation where we're struggling. We struggle mentally. We have gotten our heads kicked in for 40 years plus now, and it's now a mental thing. So when you're looking at somebody else in a different jersey, you're going to struggle. So our program weaknesses that we came up with, number one was culture, the lack of accountability, discipline, and fun. These were all things, and we kind of had to group things in. There were plenty of weaknesses that were pointed out. They said low numbers, not getting multi-sport athletes out, players transferring, that's a problem. When you look throughout the Southwest Conference and there's student athletes that grew up in Collinsville and they're leaving and they're starting for another program that's consistently in the playoffs, we've got to keep those kids in the building. Well, why are they leaving? Well, the culture. The culture, it's where we're at right now. They don't want to be a part of it. We talked about it being an embarrassment. This is a big deal. Strength training and conditioning, development of players overall was a big one. So I knew as soon as I heard that, well, okay, we've got to look at our strength training program. What do we need to do? Our conditioning program. How are we going to develop kids? These are all things that I'm starting to get an idea of as we continue to move forward. Coaching staff, and I loved hearing it, which is difficult from a coaching staff to admit. But especially when you get into that meeting, if one of your coaches says, I don't feel like our coaching staff's up to speed, maybe we don't know the game plan, maybe we're not putting in enough time, maybe we're not grinding, maybe we don't have enough staff camaraderie, you don't think that's important, you're crazy. We spend more time with our assistants guys than we do almost with our family. I mean, you spend so much time, so if you're not getting along, that's a problem. JFL Alignment. And we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. If you have a middle school, if you have a feeder program and they're not aligned with you, you're going ahead and there's a good chance that you're missing out on quality opportunities to get better. And the other thing that they discussed was lack of key support. The football program right now has struggled to the point where maybe we're not getting the same support that another sporting event or another athletic program is. So we had to change that as well. Okay, Coach, so you went ahead, you listed all your strengths and weaknesses. What does that matter? I don't know what you're trying to tell me. Okay, so when we use our one-page strategic plan, what we do is by listing our internal strengths and weaknesses, and we actually go through and we'll do external opportunities, like how are we going to get better, going to coaching clinics, 7-on-7, different things like that, and our external threats, which are what can hurt us. All right, well, if we battle other sports programs and we make kids choose, that can hurt you. We live in a time right now where you've got AAU that plays all the time. You've got baseball that plays all the time. Now wrestling goes in the summer. You've got running camps. Guys, if you make a kid choose, you're going to lose out. You've got to find a way to adjust, adapt, roll with it, and we can say, well, when we were kids, no, it's different. It is different because we didn't have the luxury of playing AAU or 7-on-7. We didn't get that. We didn't have to work against anybody. Everybody was limited with contact. You didn't have the travel baseball like it is now. So you've got to be willing to work. So once we've identified all these as a program, we have to make a decision on who we are. So when you look at us, whether it be on Twitter, on Facebook, wherever it's at, Snapchat, we're constantly talking about change. We're talking about the word change. It's an acronym for us, all right? These are our core values. This is what, when you talk about accountability being an issue, lack of discipline, low numbers, your coaching staff, JFL alignment, not having fun. Well, when you start to develop your core values, who you are as a coach and who you are as a program, they should go ahead and they should solve a lot of those problems. So when we looked at it, okay, so we've got low numbers, we've got accountability, discipline issues. Well, the C in change stands for commitment. How committed are you? Are you all in? As a coaching staff, same thing. Coaching staff, if our assistant coaches are a problem, are you committed? Are you going to your meetings? Are you paying attention to our team activities? Are you there when I need you to be there? Are you showing up 5 minutes before? Are you showing up 30 minutes before like I need you to? There's a lot of things. Kids, same thing. Coming into the weight room. Are you getting in the weight room? Are you finding time? We kind of felt like that word commitment, and your coaching staff can come up. It's not just you as a head coach. It's not just you as an assistant. It's what you believe in as a program. So when you're creating your core values, and guys, you can't just tell me, oh, what commitment's a big deal to us. Is it up? Well, like when you walk in our weight room, and it's not painted up there yet, all right? But it's on the back of our shirts. I mean, these kids are seeing it. They're seeing us tweet out nonstop. You can't just go ahead and tell me commitment's big if you're not going to put it out there. You've got to put it out there so your kids can physically see it every day. When they walk in that weight room, when they walk into the school, when they walk by your office, they've got to know how important commitment is, and you've got to talk about it. You've got to be about it. And you've got to go ahead and set the example. The tree rots from the top, guys. The tree rots from the top. So if you're not going to go ahead and you're not going to live the core values like commitment, we've got a problem. The second letter in change is H. I know for you guys that can't spell, that's all right. I'm trying to help you out as much as I can. So with H, it's our how-to mentality. You know, you've seen people, I'm a huge John Gordon fan, no energy vampires, don't do it, don't be that way. So you'll have people, you'll have assistant coaches walk into your office and everybody's got one. Everybody's got one guy at least who walks in and says, well, we can't do this because of this. We can't do this because our kids aren't good enough. They can't do. No, don't tell me why we can't. Tell me how we can. I want to know how we can. All right, you're telling me that our kids are struggling and we don't think we're going to be successful because we're not strong enough. Well, how are we going to get stronger? Don't just tell me we need to get stronger. I want you to come in and I want you to come in with solutions. Now, there's a right time and a wrong time to talk about things. The right time is when we're in our office, we're in our meetings, and we're together. Never in front of kids. You cannot have those conversations in front of kids, ever. Kids should never, it's just like your children at home. They should never see mom and dad fight, ever. You guys got to go ahead. There's a time and a place. You know there's going to be internal struggles, and you've got to work together. So how? So we're a big how program. How are we going to get better? How are we going to get stronger? How are we going to become more competitive? How are we going to get more kids out? Don't just tell me why we can't. Tell me how we can. So that's a big one. A, we talked about it, accountability. So you go ahead as one of our issues that they said kids aren't being held accountable. They've been allowed here in the past to show up in the summer once or twice out of 25 contact days, and then they go ahead and they show up in August, and then they play. They start. And you could say, well, Coach, I don't have a lot of time. My administration's on my back, blah, blah, blah. Fine, I get it. I get it. Guys, we live in a world, it's a results-driven world where everybody wants to go ahead and what have you done for me lately? And if you haven't, you're up against it. But what are you trying to teach your kids? I know we want to win, but isn't the big thing that we're trying to help them grow? That's what we want. We want these kids to leave our programs and contribute to society in a positive way. So we have to teach them accountability. We've got a kid right now who goes ahead and he's missed the entire month of June. We're going down to Tennessee for 7-on-7. He goes ahead, he's out because he's got summer school. He goes, how come I don't get to go to Tennessee? I said, well, let me ask you this. Why are you missing, and is it your fault? He said, well, I'm missing because of academics. And yes, it is. Okay. I'm not trying to punish you. I'm trying to teach you the importance of academics. I'm trying to teach you the importance of being committed. Because you're a student athlete. Student comes first. So you've got to take care of business. That's what we want to do. We are going to hold our student athletes accountable. And I understand it's not mandatory in the summer. We encourage. But are you working with other programs? You've got to go ahead. You can't just say, well, guys, we're going to hold them accountable and we're never going to go ahead and make any adjustments. You've got to be able to adjust on the fly. So if basketball goes at a specific time and you want those basketball kids out, find a different time to go. Whether it be early in the week. Baseball always leaves on Wednesday or Thursday. They're gone for the weekend. Go on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Go before then. Find ways, adjust, guys, always. The next one is the N. This is one of my favorites. It is the nevers. The nevers of our program. How are you going to get better? We talk about being process-driven over outcome. If you're outcome-driven, if you're outcome-oriented, you're going to go ahead. We're going to get up against East St. Louis this year, and if they beat us by 70 points again like they did last year, boy, that's disappointing. Where you spend all this time making this change. I've been here since February. We're changing things in the weight room, changing how we practice, changing how we play, everything. And we go into week one and Cahokia beats us. Well, if you're only focused on the outcomes, you're going to be disappointed. If it's always outcome-based, always outcome-driven, you're always going to find a way to be disappointed. So we're process-driven, all right? So our nevers, what we do is this. We create a list of nevers, things that we have never accomplished, and that's what we're crossing off daily, always. So you go ahead, you look at it, you say this, well, this semester or this quarter, I've never benched this. I've never squatted this. I've never had perfect attendance in the weight room. I've never had perfect attendance in the classroom. I've never done this at my job. I've never talked to a girl. I've never gotten a date. Dude, there are nevers all over the place that you can cross out. We're looking to develop. We're looking to grow. That's what we want. We want these kids to grow. We want them to gain confidence and grow as people, grow as student athletes. So when we're listing nevers, we're knocking these out. So it's for me. All right, we go ahead. We're lifting this spring because I had to be at my job. I had to be at my job by 7:10 every morning. Okay? I had to coach. I was coaching a different sport after school because I had already committed at my other school to doing that. So we had to lift at 6 a.m. That sucks. It's horrible. And I know a lot of people do it. Oh, coach, we do it all the time. You might be in an established program that does that all the time, and you might have big buy-in, and that's awesome. Okay, that's not how it goes. So in a program where we've struggled for 40-plus years, when you come in at 6 a.m. and you're asking these kids to get after it from 6 a.m. to 6:45, that's tough. How are you going to do that? Well, we crossed off nevers. So we started off, well, I think 18 kids in the weight room. And then we were at 20, then 25, and then 30. And then we ended up hitting 36, and then it turned into a game. And these kids are sitting here looking and saying, man, we've never done that. We've never had 36 in the weight room this early in the morning. So you knock those out, you're knocking off nevers. That's what we want. Coach, I've never had straight A's on a progress report. I've never had an A in science class. So those are things that you can do to show that you are having success as a program. Success is measured in a lot of different ways. So that's a big way. Giving and serving is another one with us. We want to get out in the community. We want to teach these young men, and I say young women as well, because we have a couple females in our program, and I'm all for them coming out and playing. They bust it for us. We want them to develop into young men and women that are serving our community. They're doing it the right way. So we've planned things with that. The other one is being elite in the classroom, in the weight room, and I know PJ Fleck likes to throw that word around, and it's perfect. Me coaching out at Army, you look at those kids, they were elite. They were elite in the classroom, elite on the field, elite in life, and that's what we're striving for. So these are our core values, guys. These are what we believe in as a program. All right, Coach, well, what do you have to do now? Because I don't understand this. We pointed out strengths, we pointed out weaknesses. Now we've established our culture, but let's get into that how. Let's get into the how. So we do 90-day rocks. Every week, I go ahead, I send out an email on Monday morning to our coaching staff, to anybody else who is on our strategic plan committee that came up with stuff, because we've established 90-day rocks, things that we're going to knock out over the next 90 days as a staff. And there are people, and you guys might think I'm crazy for having a school board member in a strategic plan committee. It was the best thing I've ever done. We did it up at Mount Zion. Why? Well, who holds the key to your job security? They do. They do. Well, what better way to go ahead and get them on your side than involve them with decisions that you're making in the program? Because they had some say in that. They got in there. They had some say. They were in there when we talked about our 90-day rocks and where we're headed as a program. And you guys know this. It's like parents, the same thing. You're tired of listening to parents up top because I know they're a lot of fun. Get them involved. It's a lot more difficult to complain about something when you go ahead and you're involved in something. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to associate everybody. So then we take our weaknesses and we say, how are we going to make this a strength? So we established 90-day rocks. So the things that we came up with our first 90 days were we needed to plan our spring and summer schedule, first and foremost. Program inventory was a big one. JFL Alignment, meet with our booster club, interview, hire, and develop assistant coaches. Those were our big things starting off. That's where we needed to go ahead. We needed to focus. All right? Now, that's not just me. I've got Coach Popovich on this slide for planning the summer and spring. I get it. That is on me. But other things are not. You have to learn to delegate. You've got to utilize the people in your program. If you're not, you're going ahead and you're going to run yourself ragged and you're going to struggle. You cannot micromanage. Utilize people's talents. I had a mom up in Mount Zion. Every year I text this lady and I say, you are phenomenal. I miss having you. And she was tough. But man, every parent thing that we had, every meal that we had, everything was organized. Why? Because she was in charge of it. She told me what she needed. I helped her out in any way, but you can't go ahead and do that. We like to focus on football stuff, guys, but there's a lot more that goes into it. So you have to utilize the talent around you. All right? So we went ahead this spring and this summer. Well, first thing we did, we went ahead and established a weight room schedule because we had to change some things in there. And we got stronger. We did. So we started lifting Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays at 6 a.m. All right? And you don't have to do that, but find time. Find time to lift as a group, too, if you can. Push for an athletic PE program if you can, and really push your kids to go ahead and lift together. There's a lot of distractions in the weight room during school. So if you go ahead and you allow them and you think that, like, let's say that you're not me and you're not going to be in the weight room with your kids. Hopefully you've got a coach in there with you. If you don't, you're going to have to find time to lift with them. Unless you've got somebody in there that really holds it to it. Guys, I'm a PE teacher. I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of bad PE teachers out there that don't care. They don't care if your kids get stronger because it doesn't affect them. So you've got to make sure that you're coaching them up with what you want done. All right? Now, if they need help with something, you better be willing to help them out because you got to scratch their back. The other thing that we went ahead and set up this spring was a Google Classroom. Now, this wasn't me. Our D coordinator ended up taking this. He was in the building, Google Classroom. Every 2 weeks, we had a grade check. All right, 1,900 kids in the school. All they had to do was screenshot their grades and go ahead and upload it. Accountability right there, because you've got to do this. If you're not on top of it, we know we can see it. I had access to it. We're able to go in there and check. And the other thing is this. You might think your kids are aware of their grades because we need them in the fall. We know that. They've got to be eligible. You might think your kids are aware of where they're at. They're not. If they're not consistently checking, if the only time they're checking it is progress report time and report card time, they're not paying attention to it. But every 2 weeks, if all of a sudden I'm responsible for uploading my grades, there's some embarrassment in there because I'm okay, coach wants me to upload these, he's going to see these, and I'm not happy with these grades. All right? So we want to go ahead and make improvements. And we've done that. And in the past, not just with the Google Classroom, this is another thing that just kind of popped up with me that I'm thinking about at Mount Zion that I highly recommend. We found a teacher in the building that we actually gave a stipend to be our team tutor. So on Tuesdays and Thursday mornings, if you had a D or an F, you literally had to be at you had to be at the tutoring before school started on Tuesday and Thursday. If you weren't there on Tuesday, you sat out the first half. First time we had a kid miss and he sat out a half, he's like, whoa, we were serious about grades. We had ineligibilities drop significantly at Mount Zion. We went from basically the 2014 season to having, I want to say 60 or 70 total. Now, some of those were repeat offenders. To that following year being down in, I want to say 11 or 12 total, just because we added a team tutor. So the Google Classroom is something that we're doing right now. The other thing we did this spring is we added a spring competition. We had kids come out. I took them out for breakfast. I had team captains that I just designated for that, and they drafted kids. They got points for showing up for weightlifting. They got points for uploading their grades to Google Classroom. They got points for showing up to competitions. And then we went ahead and we said the winning team is designing our helmet this year. So they were the kid that won it. The captain's jacked up. He's pumped up. I don't even know what we're doing team decal-wise yet, but I'm sure it'll look cool. But that's where you go ahead and you start holding kids accountable. Guys, I'm telling you right now, horizontal accountability is significantly more important than vertical accountability. When you go vertical, you're fine. Your head coach, we talk about tree rotting from the top. Yes, they're on everybody going down. But when you go ahead and you start to have student athletes holding each other accountable, that's when you're going to go ahead and take off as a program. So that's what we want. Also during the spring, with the giving and serving, we had a community cleanup day where we went to Beltline Road and we picked up trash. People saw us out there. It was great publicity for our program, but at the same time, it taught our kids that A, you don't need to be littering. B, there's a lot of stuff out there. C, we made a difference because people were coming up to us saying thank you. That's what you want. You want to make a difference. And we don't expect, do things without money. You don't need money. You don't need money. Do things because you want to make this place better. We're also going ahead. We set our summer's practice schedule. We knock everything out in 2 hours, guys. Here in the past, they've gone 3.5, 4 hours. I mean, we go ahead. We go from 7:30 to 9:30 a.m. I said it earlier, kids want their time. They want that. We knock out a lift, so we go from 7:30, we have 3 groups. From 7:30 to 8:05, Group A is in the weight room. Group B is on the track working on sprint work. Group C is on the field doing agilities and other things, CrossFit oriented, whether it be with a plate, squats, whatever we can do. We go from 7:30 to 8:05 every day. From 8:05 to 8:15 is a walk through period, whether it be a defensive day or an offensive day, whatever it is. And then from 8:15 to 8:25, we go dynamic. And from 8:25 to 9:30, we have practice. We're very efficient. We run 5-minute segments. Everything is planned out, and we are moving. We move with a purpose. We're not just practicing to practice. We're not going to be out here for 3 hours if we don't need to be. During the year, we'll go an hour and 45 minutes, tops. We'll never go longer. And as the year winds down, as you continue to go, we'll shorten that. The legs win, guys. Legs win. We also have a 7-on-7 on that last slide in Tennessee. It's something to get those kids excited, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. Some other things that we did that you might not think are important are program inventory. Kids walk into my office back there and helmets were just everywhere. Shoulder pads are everywhere. That's not how we operate. You want to be an elite program, you better act like it. You better make sure that your room is organized so when kids walk in, they know that this is a program that we take seriously. You go into the weight room, we better leave it better than the way we found it. That's been a huge knock in this school is the football program doesn't care. They do whatever they want. They leave stuff all around. It's that accountability, all right, discipline. So we're doing that. We're instilling that in them. Organize the storage area like I just said. Order things. Order new footballs. Order new helmets. Do these things so they see these things coming in. Put a logo on your football. Treat it like it matters. Mandeville, Louisiana is a program I like to talk about with lifting shirts and other things like that. The way they conducted themselves, we took Mount Zion down to Daphne, Alabama a few years back for 7-on-7, and Mandeville was there. And everything they did, head to toe, man, they were in Mandeville stuff. They matched. They had a truck that went ahead and carried their equipment. They looked like a first-class program, and I thought we were a first-class program. And then you see that, and it's little things like that to where your kids go ahead and they start taking things more seriously. Another issue that we talked about was JFL alignment. Now, what we have here is an interesting situation, and I've told you, you've got to get them on the same page. You have to have your younger coaches. I walk into Mount Zion my first year, 2013, on a Wednesday night. There are fourth graders playing, and they play on a Wednesday night. I walk over, I said, how did it go? And the first thing the coach said is, effing terrible. Okay, first of all, they're in fourth grade, dude. All right, let's back it up a little bit. And that's a terrible way. That guy did not work for the program anymore. He was done. You have to be willing to do that. You got to be willing to make tough decisions. They have to be an extension of your program, which means you have to be down there. You've got to coach their coaches. They've got to be on the same page. Even if they're not willing to run what you do offensively or defensively, make sure they're tackling the right way. Make sure that they're not practicing longer than you. Make sure their playlist isn't bigger than yours. All right? Do the little things. Be there. Recruit them as they're on their way up. We've got two programs here, and we've got problems because the Junior K-Hawks have not been terribly successful, and then you have the Raiders, which is a collection of players from all over this area. Well, naturally, you think about that, they're obviously going to be very successful, okay? And they're going to come up, and those kids are going to go to other schools because that's the community they're from. So one of the things that we're working on is trying to merge these two programs to make sure, and I don't even care if it says Raiders, it doesn't have to say Junior K-Hawks. I know this, they're going to be K-Hawks when they get into high school. That's what we want. We want our kids to be down there, we want them playing together, we want it to be a positive situation. If you don't have the luxury of having a coach down there that's a non-parent, make sure that it's a parent you trust. Talk with them, coach them. So align your JFL, but you have to be present down there, guys. You can't go ahead and expect them to know what they're doing. With that being said, how much is too much? K through 8 right now. Collinsville has K through 8 football. Okay, we live in a world right now, and whether you guys want to talk about it or not, concussions are huge. Now, I'm not very intelligent, but I know this. The more that you go ahead and you get hit, the more likely you are to getting a concussion. And once you've had one, I think we can all agree that you're more likely to have another one. So if you start at that young of an age, guys, you're going to lose kids. And now people will say, well, they've got soccer going on, they got basketball. Good, let them develop. Let them develop. Wait. Go ahead and break it down. This is kind of my spiel, man. I mean, we're really pushing hard to have it all the way up through 6th grade where it is all 7-on-7, all skill, like Skelly type such situations, so flag football type. We want to develop them. We want them to have fun, all right? And your numbers are going to increase. We always talk about turning it into a 5-year program as well. That's something I highly recommend, to where your 8th grade is an extension to where they run exactly what you do. So when they go from 8th grade to freshman, they go ahead and they know exactly what they're going to get into. Player safety is a big one, like I just talked about. Do you have a quality coaching staff? I want you to think about this. Everybody talks about the lack of quality coaches at the JFL level. But if you have kindergarten through 8th grade, that's a lot of bad coaching. And you might have some good coaches sprinkled in there, but not every group's getting that coach, that quality coach. Something else that you need to consider, and this is important. If you're in a program where your JFL is very, very successful, first of all, why are they successful? Are they playing schools that you're going to play? All right. The other thing is this, and you guys know this, and this is a tough one, because with sophomores and freshmen, man, they get crapped on a lot. Is it cooler to play as an 8th grader than it is a freshman and sophomore? Is it a bigger deal? Is it a bigger deal as far as, the crowd, the announcer, everything, the uniforms? I understand that we don't want to be sitting here buying new uniforms for freshmen and sophomore and different things like that because we're limited with our program. But at the same time, you have to realize that if it is a significant downgrade going from playing 8th grade to all of a sudden freshman, it's not nearly as important. Sophomore, same thing. You're going to lose kids. You don't want that. You want numbers. Find ways to keep those kids out. All right? What's your role in JFL? Are you the president? Are you supposed to be implementing the offense, the defense, special teams? Find out what your role is and do it to the best of your ability. Utilize people down there. Get in the building. Talk with kids constantly. Hold clinics. Hold with coaches. Go ahead. Get in there with the kids and run free camps. Run cheap camps. You got kids, guys, I'm telling you right now, at this high school, I've got kids who we did a camp for $20 because we're trying to pay for our trip to Tennessee, and I had kids not show up to camp, and they go, Coach, I didn't have $20. You don't know the situation. You have no idea. Take that into consideration or have people go ahead and sponsor them. Other thing is this, you have to respect other programs. JFL goes ahead, middle school football, they battle baseball. If you make those kids choose, if you go ahead and say, no, you can't play baseball, you're going to lose kids. You can't do that. You have to respect other programs. You got to work with them. That's what we're doing right now. So I'm at the basketball games. I'm at the basketball games watching Coach Lee work. Why? I want those kids to see me. I want them to go ahead and I want them to see, man, he supports me all the time. Wrestling. I'm at wrestling. I don't know anything about wrestling, okay, but I'm there. Soccer games. Go to the soccer games. Guess what? Those soccer kids that you're not a big fan of, guess who's up in the crowd on Friday night? You want to go ahead and have that support. That's something you need to do. And like I said, create a 5-year program. Your booster club. Your booster club's interesting. All right, first of all, how are you going to make it work with them? Do you have a booster club? Are you in a school where you have one booster club, or do you get your own football booster club? I had to go ahead. We had to meet with our booster club. We had to get an idea of what it is that we want to do. Now, right now, guys, as a booster club, we're sitting here, and I'm not terribly excited about it. I think they work very, very hard. But we are nickel and diming people left and right. You can't do that. You cannot do that. All right? So you've got, I said, what you're doing right now, you're doing gold cards, which sucks for you guys. I know that. That's horrible. Collecting that, and then all of a sudden, if you're not printing your own, you're seeing 35% walk out the door when your kids are the ones out there selling, or your parents are out there selling them. You're doing trivia nights where you're not making a lot. Golf, we just did a golf tournament. Was it successful? Sure. But then you see the bottom line, and you're like, man, I don't know if the amount of time and effort we put in was worth what we got out of it. Lift-a-thon, tag days. We stood outside this year in front of Walmart and begged for money. Did we make some? Yes, we did. But there's other ways that you guys can do this that is going to help you out and going to be able to buy the things that you need for your program to where you're never going to have to worry about it. The first thing I want to talk about is program memberships. Program memberships are huge. All right? We've done this. Now, does it matter which community you're in? Yes, absolutely. I'm not stupid. When I was at Mount Zion, we're going ahead, and we made a little over $120,000 in 3 years of fundraising for the football program alone. And we did well. It's different. It changes from city to city, from town to town. I understand that. But there's always people willing to help. We went ahead. We had 3 different memberships. We had a silver membership, which was $100 for people. All right? What'd you get for that? Well, you got your name on a massive board. One of those boards costs you maybe $400 to $600 that you hang on the back of your bleachers, and you put everybody's name on that same board. Everybody's excited about that. Then you go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and throw something out for sportdecals.com here. Sportdecals.com, you go ahead and you can buy mini helmets. They have mini helmets. You can buy them for $20 to $25 with a case. So when we changed our helmet decals every year, they got a new helmet. So that's what you got for a silver membership. Your name up there and a decal. So what do we make off that? Well, we made probably $80, $75 to $80 off every person. And then we went gold membership. Gold membership was $1 per point scored, which is awesome if you're putting up points. Now, I cannot recommend that enough. And we didn't play a lot of defense up there, so it really helped out well because we had to keep scoring points. But you do that with our gold membership. You got everything that the silver members got, but you also got preferred parking. Preferred parking costs you nothing. It costs you nothing. You guys have got to sell things that cost you nothing. So we did preferred parking for them. So they got that. Well, heck, one year we go ahead and we scored 435 points. And we had about 10 to 12 people that were gold members. So here we are, a massive fundraiser coming in at the end of the year that all I had to do was send out a slip, saying a bill, saying this is your invoice, here you go. And they wrote it off on their taxes because the school always did that. They gave them a form, and it was perfect. And the other one we did was a championship member, and that was $1,000. And we had people that actually put up more than that, but they got everything that we just talked about, but not just the preferred parking. We gave them sideline passes. Doesn't cost you anything. Now, they had to sign something prior to getting on the field. They were in between the goal line and the 30 on either side, and they could not talk. They could not get you in trouble. They signed something, and they knew that. But sideline passes were a big thing. We also had them go ahead and come in and eat meals with us on Thursday night. A lot of them didn't even take advantage of that, but the opportunity was there. We wanted to connect with them. They're donating $1,000 to your program. I'm telling you right now, you can find people, whether they're still living in your community or they've moved out, alumni. I was just talking with one of our assistant coaches. I said, you could donate $1,000 a year. It's $83 a month, a little over $83 a month. That's it. That's it. You can find people that will do this. And you know what you don't have to do? You don't have to worry about gold cards anymore. You don't have to worry about all the little things that you don't want to do. Everything goes back through you. So I highly recommend going through program memberships. We also talk about sponsoring a player where you can go ahead, get an idea of what it's going to cost for that player for that year, and they go out and have somebody sponsor them. You got to get in the bleachers for 50-50. This is where JFL comes in big. I tell JFL all the time, I will pay for your footballs, I will pay for your helmet reconditioning. I have to have you working 50-50 in my bleachers. And you get people up in the bleachers because at some point in time, their kids are going to be in high school. And they want to be able to watch the game. So they need to get in the bleachers, and they need to be selling 50-50. Get them involved, which is great. The other one I'm actually stealing from Merle Forsyth. I know Coach Joseph used to do this. They did the touchdown totals, where however many points at the end, or however many touchdowns, everybody donated $10 per touchdown or whatever it was. So that goes along with the gold membership. So there are ways for you to do this that is significantly going to lower the amount of stress on you while also increasing the amount of money that you're making. What can you do with this? Coach, how is this going to turn my program around? How is making more money? Very simply put, guys, you're going to be able to go other places. All right? We took our kids down to Daphne, Alabama. We took our kids to Notre Dame for 7-on-7. They want that. That is an experience that is going to separate you from another program. You don't see the track team going ahead and taking trips. Basketball might go to team camps, fine. Basketball's in a different situation too because they might take 10 kids. It's easy to fit them on a smaller bus or a van. We don't have that luxury. You got to pay for a lot, but you've got to find a way to compete with them, and this is a way that you can go ahead and do it. Getting into my assistant coaches, I know I'm a little long-winded here, but there's a lot of things that I think are important. With my assistant coaches, when we started looking at things, I wanted to, A, gather what they thought of the program, where they were at. I was looking for positive guys that were willing to buy into this change, that were willing to be committed. I want guys that are out there being energetic because I am. And I need them to do that so I'm not the only one losing my mind all the time, trying to get kids to find that extra level of energy. So what we did is we met with them. We talked about what needs to change with the program. What would you do? How would you approach this? I knew there were going to be assistant coaches when I walked into this situation that had applied for this job. And I knew they were going to go ahead and question a lot of moves. So I had to make sure that they knew that, hey, this is what we're trying to do. And if I felt like somebody wasn't on the same page, I didn't hire them. And I think that it's important that you realize you have to surround yourself, and I said this a long time ago, you have to surround yourself with people on the same mission. They've got to be on the same page as you. Less is more. You don't have, if you've got 15 coaches out there that are quality coaches, that's great. But if you have 15 coaches out there and only 2 or 3 of them are worth a darn and those other, 8 of them are negative, you would be better off rolling with 3 guys that are positive. Get the positive guys that want to be out there because that's the most important thing. Who's in the building that could help? Why aren't they? We pulled 3 guys that were not helping, that are football guys. So why aren't they helping? Find out what happened. So we immediately interviewed them. We got them on board. It was great. We talked about no energy vampires earlier. I don't want guys that are sucking the life out of us, the positive energy. Don't be like that. That's not what you want, okay? You have to respect their time, all right? The assistant coaches as well. They have wives, a lot of them, kids, all right? So when we get into the season, and I told them this, I said, first of all, during the summer, we're Monday, Tuesday, Thursday from 7:30 to 9:30. Guys, we're going to meet right after practice for 10 minutes, and then 5-10 minutes, and then you're out. I'm not going to be blowing up your phone. I'm not going to do that. In the season, Sundays, we don't even meet. We go ahead. We have huddle at home. Everybody has their own responsibilities. We have a 30-minute conference call on Sunday night where everybody calls in. We talk about what we're seeing. We go ahead. We make the adjustments that we need to make, and our game plan is in. We don't need to sit there and watch film for 8 hours. Watch it when you can watch it. Saturdays, we have games on Saturdays for our young pups, but our coaches, we do not have practice. We talk about time with kids. We don't want that. We want them to be energized. Hour and 45 minutes, tops. Wives need to see their husbands. All right? It's important. Kids need to see their dad. And I need them fresh. And if they're not fresh, they're not doing me any good. All right? So that's important. You need to respect their time. You also need to respect the fact that coaches, we talk about multi-sport athletes. You have multi-sport coaches. You need multi-sport coaches. You need guys that are running the track program. You need guys that are in the wrestling room. You need guys that are coaching baseball. Why? Relationships. Because there's a kid out there, you guys know how it goes. Football's a big deal right after the season. You've got college football, you got the playoffs going on, you've NFL playoffs, everybody's jacked up, everybody's getting in the weight room, they're wanting to get big, and then all of a sudden, February rolls around. March, April. Now it's baseball. Football, you're not seeing it on TV. You're not seeing that. You need that baseball coach. You need that track coach that's going to go ahead. Oh, we got a lacrosse coach. You need that guy to develop those relationships, to keep those kids. So if they're sitting there and they're wavering about it, they can stay in their ear. It's important. All right, so you need multi-sport coaches. Like I said, don't meet for the sake of meeting. When we were going ahead and I was developing coaches this spring, instead of having us come in and do a massive 2 to 4 hour meeting and having them just retain a little bit of information, I make 5-minute huddle videos. 5-minute huddle videos, and I share them. Sometimes once a day, sometimes twice a week, once a week. Maybe I'm talking about a concept that we're running. Maybe I'm talking about a practice thing that we're running. I've got a whiteboard at home. I upload it with huddle. It's 5 minutes. Dudes are on the toilet, taking a dump, pulls out his phone, he's able to watch it. And I guess what I just did, we made it simpler for them to learn what it is that we're doing, and we're bringing them along. So schematically, when we stepped on the field first day of the summer in June, we were there. All right, so if you're going to make a change in your program and you're sitting here thinking to yourself, all right, we're going to implement, we're going back to this offense or we're going to this defense, and you're sitting here and you don't know if, hey, this guy coaches this sport, he coaches this sport, he can't get here because he's got this going on, he works, fine. Do the huddle install. 5-minute videos. You can share it with your kids too. So we were big on ball security, high and tight, wrist above your elbow. Everybody knows that in our program because we sent out a video just on ball security. All right, we sent out just mini huddle videos. It's great for that, so I highly recommend that. I said this earlier, never micromanage. Utilize. If you've got somebody who's a tech guy, let him do it. Let him do it because he's probably better than you. He's going to do some cool stuff. Let him do it, okay? Fundraising. You've got somebody who's great at fundraising. Let him do it. Position-wise, if they know that position, let them coach it. Let them coach it. Don't walk around. And I know head coaches, if you're not calling it, you walk around and you see a drill and you jump in because you don't think it's being done right, and it might not be. Talk to them. First of all, don't undercut a coach ever. Don't undercut them. Talk to them in the office. But watch it, because if you trust your coaches and you're not micromanaging and they know what they're doing, let them coach. All right? Got to have energy with the assistant coaches. I said that. One other thing I want you to think about with assistant coaches is this: as a head coach, who's a guy that you would like to coach under? Who's that guy? Do you want to coach for a dickhead? Because I don't. Like, I don't want to do that. I want to go ahead and I want to enjoy my time out there. I want to go ahead and I want to know that this guy cares about me and that, yes, he expects a lot out of me, but he loves me just like he loves these kids. That's a guy that I want to play for. And I've had those guys. That's the guy that I want to coach for. All right? That's exactly what I want to do. couple other things. Gaining confidence, and here I've got, this is why we're going down 7-on-7. You've got obviously East St. Louis on the left side right now. We can't go 7-on-7 with East St. Louis. Right now, the front of their jersey, the side of their helmet is so intimidating for us. You guys got to get away from your teams. If you're struggling with confidence, the mental aspect of this game is huge. It's not just physical. All right, there's a mental aspect that you need to take into consideration. You have to develop confidence. That's why we cross off nevers. It's like, I'm accomplishing something. So if a kid even plateaus in the weight room and you're sitting here saying, yeah, but you've never done this before on the side, there are ways to go ahead. We're trying to gain confidence. So we're going down to play Mount Juliet. Now, these kids don't realize who the heck Mount Juliet is. We're leaving, first week of July, going down there. They're a great program down in Tennessee. They play in 9 AAA. It's a tough district. They put dudes in the SEC, and our kids have no idea. And we're going to go down there, and I truly believe we're going to be competitive with them because it's a change of venue. It's somebody different. It's a confidence thing. All right? You've got to prepare them. All right? We like to talk about kids not being mentally tough. What are you doing to train that? How are you going ahead and developing resilience, grit? Are you working it into your daily plans? How are you going to develop that confidence? Those are all things that are important. Process versus outcome, I said this a little bit earlier. It's important. It's something that we truly believe in, focusing on doing things differently every day, making changes, changing your best every day, not being fixated on the outcomes. There are things that you can accomplish throughout the day that are important. The last thing that I'll say is this, guys. I just finished my master's at Mizzou in positive coaching, and I went ahead and I turned in my first assignment ever. It was a core value assignment, and I'm like, God, it's the best I can do. And my professor just ripped it. He ripped it apart. It was disheartening. And I was so upset. I was so frustrated because I was like, man. And he goes, Pop, I want you to ask yourself this question nonstop. How? By doing what? How? So you tell me you're going to change. How? By doing what? Are you going to get stronger? We're going to get stronger in the weight room. How? By doing what? Well, we're going to run 6-week cycles where we focus on core lifts. We're also going to increase our core strength. By doing what? Well, these are the specific lifts we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. All right? How are you going to go ahead and make a jump as a program? By doing what? How are you going to be more competitive? Well, we're going to gain confidence. We're going to make sure these kids know exactly what it is that we expect, and we're going to put them in a position to be successful. By doing what? How? By doing what? Well, our practice is going to be broken down to 5 minutes. We're going to be very efficient. We're going to make sure that it translates. Every drill is going to match up with what it is that we want these kids to do. So, guys, this is threw a lot of information at you. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you watching this. Like I said, we've been in some situations. I say I, but I really mean we. We've been in some situations where we've turned some programs around. I truly believe that we're going to do the same at Collinsville. I appreciate you checking out this video. Thank you very much.